So here's a brief video of my X5 E53 boot catch, and the problem is that the boot door isn't remaining closed. We're getting an indication on the inside that the boot lid is open, and as you can see, the catch itself, the mechanism, doesn't quite want to engage, and it's loose. And this symptom looks like this. You can't physically shut your boot. This problem is quite common, I think, on the E53, but it's a very simple fix, and I'm going to show you how to do that. First, we need to get this out. As you can see, we've got 2 screws each side here, but the remaining screws are behind this panel. To get to this panel, we have to remove this panel, the side panels. So we're going to make a start on that. And these panels are dead easy to get off. You get a screwdriver, or if they've been off before, you just pull them, and the clips will fall out like that one. Keep them safe when they do. And the panel looks like this behind. You've just got these clips, and they go on the tabs there, and then they go into the holes in the trunk lid. Once the end panel is off, we can work on the side panels. They come off exactly the same. You just pull them. That one. And that one. Then we have this back panel itself. There's 2 Phillips screws, as you can see, in the handholds. And if we take the lights out with a screwdriver, this little tab is the manual boot release. You can pull this, it pulls on the plastic, and it will open the boot from the inside. There's no power to the lock, or even if you're trapped in the boot, you can pull that and it will open up the boot catch. But to remove the lights, simply put the screwdriver down the side, pull it out, disconnect, and you can see the remaining Phillips head screw there. One on that side and one on that side. Here on the boots, we need to take the wiper arm off so we can take the wiper motor out. You can see there's a very small recess there where you can get a flathead screwdriver in. Just get that in, prise the cap off, and then we've got a 13mm nut in there. We can use a socket to take that off. But this shaft will pull out now once we undo the bolts for the wiper motor on the inside. Once the cover's off, coming back into the inside, we have 3 Torx 30 screws. We just undo that and pull the motor down out of the way. Once the wiper motor is out of the way, we have 3 more Torx 30s. 1, 2, 3. Undo them and also pull out the power cable, and then the lock mechanism is free to be removed. This is what the lock mechanism looks like once it's removed. As you can see, the catch doesn't engage in. And to fix the problem, we need to take this cover off. It's not too difficult. It's just got 3 clips on the top and then 1 on the underside in there. Just using a flathead screwdriver, just peel back the clips, take the cover off. So I undid the cover, the clips, the cover is loose. Now what I expect to see in here is a spring that holds the lock together. It's probably going to be broken. Get the cover off. And sure enough, you can see the spring there. So this spring here, which is loose, you can see the end is snapped off the spring. That should engage around there to hold the lock mechanism in place. And then this is the micro switch that tells you that the boot lid is open. It also keeps the lights on in the boot, which drains the battery if the lock isn't engaging or closing properly. So if you have a spare spring, good for you, just go ahead and reconnect that spring. But I don't have a spare spring, so I'm just going to recurl the end there and try my best to reattach it to where it's supposed to be. I've managed to get the spring now and just unhook it from the hole and remove the spring, and you can see that one end has indeed snapped off. So that tiny little spring is the only reason why your boot won't lock, the car doesn't lock properly, you get warnings on the dash to say the boot lid is open, your battery gets drained because the rear boot lights stay on. All them problems stem from this tiny spring. So what we're going to do is go ahead and recurl the end of the spring best we can using, of all things, an IKEA toolkit. So anybody can do this. We're going to rebend the end of that spring into a curl. So I don't know if you can see what I've done, but the last two winds of the spring, basically using the pliers, just bent that out at 90 degrees. And then I'm going to chop a little bit there just to basically make it look like that. So you can see the last wind was just bent out at 90 degrees and I just cut it off. So basically that is going to loop around this side, and then the original end, which was more of a hook, is going to go back onto the hole back down there, and then we're going to reconnect the whole thing back together. So as you can see, I've hooked the one end on to the catch there, and I've put the spring back, albeit the other way around, just because it was easier, back through that hole there. And now you can see the catch is back under load. Right, push the catch back in now. It's quite stiff, which it should be, but there we go. That's first stage, and that's second stage. So it's fully catched. You can see that the mechanism has been pulled all the way to the left. It's fully engaged. It's engaged on a micro switch which is closed, which would then say that the boot lid is also closed. It would extinguish the lights in the boot area. And then this catch is utilised if you were to open it without the electric central locking. The way that the lock actually works is you press the switch, fires some power into this motor which spins this Archimedes screw, which drives this gear clockwise round. This pin will actually hit this, and demonstrate, comes off the micro switch and opens the boot. So that's it, it's all fixed. So all we have to do now is put the cover back on and refit in exactly the reverse order of which you took it apart. And then that's how you fix your lock on your E53 X5 for nothing, using basically an IKEA kit, 13mm socket and a 30mm Torx. That's it. Let's get it all built and see if it works. So it's all back together. You can see the lock now. It's a lot stiffer to move. It's in the open position. Boot shuts. That's absolutely solid. Press the button. Locks. Catch goes back to normal. All fixed.